What's up, everybody? Paul here from the Hoops Crew, and we are on the verge of the NAB AFL draft for 2024. And last night, I recorded a video about a whole bunch of different things that I believe the Cats were going to do, things that I think they should do. And then some news broke that's kind of changed my thinking a little bit, changed my plans a little bit. And I'm putting a dedicated video out today about the big news that the Cats are looking to trade up earlier into the draft to target one player in particular. And then I'll reshoot the one that I put together, and you'll get to see that one tomorrow. But now, what we're going to discuss today is a player that the Cats have shown some interest in, and I think for a lot of Cats fans, this addresses a need that people have been screaming and shouting about for many years. But also, the way the Cats are going about it fits in line with basically a whole range of different strategies and ideas that we've had around the use of the Ruckman for many, many years. So let's discuss all of that. But first, a word from our sponsor.
The Hoops Crew Media Network is proudly sponsored by Cyril Cook Florist, established in Geelong since 1915. Visit their website at www.cyrilcookflorist.com.au. That's Cook with an E. Give them a call on 035 222 2244 or mention the Hoops Crew to get yourself 20% off your next in-store purchase when you visit them at Shop 12, 11 Leather Street in Breakwater.
Thanks, Cyril Cook, as always, and it is a pleasure to continue to spread the good word about the things that you do. Now, let's talk a little bit more about Alex Dodson, a ruckman who the Cats have shown a bit of interest in, as a few clubs. He's a South Australian player, and could be a great export to the Cats if we end up going hands-on with him off the back of the draft. But the talk is the Cats are looking to trade up the order to get into it. Now, whether that's trading a future pick in and making a swap, whether that is bundling up a few of our picks and then trading in, that all remains to be seen. But this is a really interesting situation that's transpiring at the moment. The Cats have done this before. We did it to get Max Holmes, and they seem to be eyeing off a similar sort of maneuver to get in nice and early to the draft this year to pick up Alex Dodson. So what do we need to know about the guy? Well, I guess it's important to note he's a ruckman for starters. So we're talking about someone who's 201 centimeters or greater, and the last recording is 201 centimeters. I've seen other recordings say 203. He might have grown a couple centimeters over the course of his draft year. We'll have to wait and see in that regard. But across a few games for South Australia this year in the under-18s, he was averaging some really impressive numbers. 17.3 disposals, 19.7 hitouts, and 3.7 clearances. Again, this is all for a ruckman. He really feels like he's the Brodie Grundy mold. And I'm going to quickly throw across some video while I chat here where we can kind of see him in action a little bit. So bear with me for a moment as I hit go on all this, and we can take a little bit of a look at what he does. And I mean, good, strong hands. You can see he's got a fairly solid, frame already. We're not talking about someone who's as built up now as Toby Conway, but Toby Conway is a very different sort of ruckman. He's that more traditional, I don't mean to be too disrespectful, but like plodding, slower ruckman. This guy's definitely got some athleticism and some willingness to kind of meet the ball ground level just as much as he's willing to be an aerialist. And so there's plenty of qualities that we see here in this footage that are quite good. And I'm really keen to see him in the blue and white if that transpires. Now, there's a whole range of combinations and permutations that can lead to this. And of course, there's 17 other clubs in the competition who might be eyeing him off as well, depending on where he falls and whether he's available when their picks happen to emerge. So we can't sit here and say Alex Dodson's going to be a Cat. But they're showing interest. The fact that it's gone public worries me a little bit. Now, that would suggest someone's talking, and now other clubs are more mindful of the Cats getting involved. They may smash the panic button and pick him up at that earlier stage. So that could work against us a little bit, I suppose. But in terms of, I guess, bringing him in, let's just work on the assumption that is, in fact, what the Cats want to do. It may not be what ultimately happens. There's so many different things that go on draft night, but let's assume that that's something the Cats want to do. Reece Stanley is presumably in his final year. Mitch Edwards as the youngest ruckman on our list now. And keep in mind, we just recently delisted Joe Furphy as well. Mitch Edwards has got some development too, but he's that younger, athletic ruckman as well. Then you've got Toby Conway as the again, that slower, more traditional ruckman. I could see a scenario where, especially if Toby is still the player that we all hope and believe he can be, I can see a scenario where Alex Dodson and Toby Conway can kind of coexist, covering for each other's strengths and weaknesses. Maybe Dodson being able to float forward a little bit more because of his athleticism, be a very, very potent tall forward. I mean, he's similar in height to Shannon Neal. Shannon Neal's our full forward now. There's some possibilities there that I think could be explored a little bit with him on the list, let alone the fact that he's, of course, going to take time to develop, and we don't know. I mean, there's so many players that come in and out of the system. We don't know whether Toby will work out in the end. We don't know whether Alex will work out in the end. But I think the club has recognised, okay, it's probably time to invest properly in the ruck and see what we can do with it. And so I'm really interested to see how he fares. I'm going to double check some other details along the way here just to make sure that I'm getting ads. Get out of the way. And I'm reading up on some of the reporting here. There's some other clubs that are potentially showing some interest in Richmond, the Western Bulldogs, and Adelaide. Richmond, obviously, I mean, they've got so many picks early in the draft that, if they're doing their due diligence, if they're kind of smart about this, they're going to share the load across the midfield, across the forward line, across defence, potentially looking at the ruck as well. So it would make sense that they're showing some interest. While the Dogs feel really strange. They've got Sam Darcy. They've got Tim English. They've got Jamara. They've got Aaron Norton. They've got a range of players that play tall that could all work through that spot. And finally, there is the Crows who, I mean, he's a local product. And so you can never rule out the local teams. It's interesting that Port Adelaide isn't being floated around in this particular case because, of course, another local team. And I wouldn't say their ruckmen are top shelf at the club. So there's reason to believe that they might be sniffing around too if he gets to if the price is right. But of course, the Cats right now have pick 45, and so as their earliest pick, and so to make this work, he's clearly going to go, I think, before pick 45. So how Geelong does this is, I think, the big question if they're to pull it off. Future picks feel like the obvious one, but maybe it's a combination of a future bundle with pick 45, which then has a bit of a bearing on some of the other things that I was predicting and hoping the Cats would do with that pick 45. More on that in tomorrow's video, I suppose. But it's a really interesting place that we find ourselves in when it comes to Geelong going into the draft. It means that as Cats fans, we absolutely need to be dialing into the draft because clearly we're going to get busy, clearly we're going to get active, clearly we're going to do something, or we're at least thinking about doing something. And that's a really fascinating prospect, if nothing else. Maybe he slips and doesn't make it into the first round, and so we're actually talking about an early second round maneuver. That would be great as well because the amount that we have to trade then to get him gets less and less and less. I'm all about it though, as to get ourselves another ruckman, to get ourselves some options, to get ourselves someone who's a bit more on the athletic side than Toby Conway is fantastic, and hopefully one of those two work out. Hopefully both work out. That would be amazing for the Cats, considering that really it's been since, well, I mean, look, we've had Reece Stanley as a premiership player. He's done a great job, but really it's been since Brad Ottens that we've kind of struggled to have a full-time top-tier ruckman who has been kind of, I guess, praised and lauded competition-wide. And so it'd be great to have one again. That's where we're going to wrap things up for now. We're going to have another video coming out tomorrow where we talk about some of the priorities that I believe the Cats should have going into this draft. And I guess ruckman now probably seems to be one of those priorities, but we'll talk more about that in tomorrow's video. So thank you, as always, for checking this out. It's been a little while since I've done one. I feel like I'm a little bit rusty here. But thank you very much for checking it out, as always. Thank you very much to Cyril Cook for sponsoring the show. Make sure to check out our Patreon, where we're going to have a range of different content still going out. The chaps have been doing amazing work around the AFLW season, which is now coming to a close. For the girls, it's already over. For the Cats girls, sorry, I should say it's already over. And of course, we're starting to build towards season 2025 for both men's and women's again. So there's going to be lots of cool stuff to discuss going forward. Look for live streams around the draft on our YouTube channel. You can find me at socials at Paul James Games, and you can find the Hoops crew on Twitter, Instagram, pretty much everything as well. Thank you as always for watching. Remain Geelong strong, and I'll see you tomorrow.